These farmers across Wisconsin, these farmers across America, these farmers who are struggling, they have no one to blame but themselves. So I quite frankly really don't give a damn, because it's your own fault. You decided, yeah, we want to put that guy back in office. Make that make sense. And now here they are, the poor farmers in Arkansas are sitting here crying. You know, I don't know what we're going to do. I know what you should have did. You should have voted for somebody that wasn't going to put tariffs out there. 77% of farming-led counties in the United States of America voted for Donald Trump. 77% of these people voted for a man who said he was going to use tariffs against other countries, knowing it would harm their communities. 77% of these farming counties voted for a man, despite the fact that they had to get a farmer bailout the last time for the first trade war, they still voted for Donald Trump. So when I hear that they are struggling in Arkansas, when I hear that they're struggling in Iowa, when I hear that they're struggling in Nebraska, I simply tell them to look in the mirror and stop begging for a damn handout. Maybe it's time to sell the farm. You right. Maybe the 6th or 7th generation won't get it. And what you should do is you should tell your kids who were supposed to be the 7th generation, the mama's a dumbass. That Paw's an idiot. Because Paw decided he wanted to be Make America Great. But meanwhile, the Chinese ain't buying soybeans from us no more because of policies Donald Trump put in. And they voted for it. You don't deserve a bailout. You can't sit here and vote one way, and then when your economy gets decimated, your way of life gets destroyed, you want to pray to God? God didn't tell you to go to that poll and vote against your own best interest. That was your own damn problem. Don't ask for prayer when you block your own blessing.
So I made a video a few months ago about the farmers in Nebraska, and I must have had a lot more sympathy back then because I was cheering for them. Well, now these farmers in Arkansas, I don't care. I don't care what happens. They keep going on TV and crying and saying that they're not going to be able to afford the farm and all this stuff. Well, guess what? Sell your farm, sell it to a big corporation because this is what you did. You voted for this. Honestly, you voted for this. The man has one economic policy, and that's tariffs. What happened last time? What happened last time? We had to bail you guys out, right? That's what happened? Well, what did you think was going to happen this time? Did you think he was just going to do his tariffs and we were going to bail you out again? He doesn't care about you guys. And I'm sure you guys were walking around a couple months ago going, yeah, we voted for this. This is what we want. Yeah, we voted for all this. Yeah. We're not going to bail you out every time you make a mistake. I have no sympathy for people who don't try to help themselves. And you thought nothing bad was going to happen to you because you voted for him, you're his fan, and he was going to take care of you. Guess what? He doesn't give a shit about it.
Thanks for clicking in to watch today's video. So, once upon a time, they cheered out the loudest, "We want Trump, we want Trump," with their red hats, of course, and the slogans. But right now, the MAGA farmers are the ones who are saying, we are bankrupt, we need help from the government, because they believed in the tariffs and the trade wars that will make America great. So, let's listen into the compilation that I have made for you, and we do not own the rights of this video. They belong to the original owners of the video.
So I got a lot of grief about a post I did where I said I think it's hilarious watching these farmers cry over losing their family farms after voting for Trump. And I guess hilarious is the wrong word. It's more cathartic to see MAGA voters have to suffer through Trump's policies like the rest of us. Because, I mean, come on, they had to get bailed out Trump's first term. They should have learned then. He did a tariff war with China, and there was a farmer bailout. Anyone remember that? You know? And then they voted for him again in 2020, and they voted for him again in 2024, and here we are, a bunch of them are losing their farms. But guess what? They're not losing their farms. Trump is going to do another farmer bailout. He's going to spend between $10 and $50 billion to bail these farmers out. And, like, what does that even mean? They're still going to have to pay a lot for all their equipment because of the tariff wars. And because of the tariff wars, now China is buying all their soybeans from Argentina. Are they going to start growing different crops? How's he going to find people to buy these crops that want to pay the tariffs for it? Or is he just going to bail them out every single year? You know, when I say it's hilarious, what I mean is I want these people to suffer for voting for Trump. So they learn that the Republican Party doesn't care about anyone that's not a billionaire. They don't. All they care about is tax cuts for the rich. I mean, look at this government shutdown. They want to cut off health care to millions of Americans to give billionaires a tax cut they don't even need. Trump is not your friend unless you're a billionaire. Period.
I don't care if you lose your farm. I don't give a shit. This is what you voted for. This is exactly what you voted for. He campaigned on tariffs. He said he was going to do this. I'm supposed to feel bad now? I'm dealing with my own shit, my own consequences to your vote. So yeah, I don't give a fuck about your farm.
Breaking news. MAGA soybean farmers across the southern United States are crying and complaining about the Chinese not buying our soybeans. What? The Chinese are not buying our soybeans because of Trump's tariffs, where they have in turn placed tariffs on our soybeans and made them so expensive that we can't sell soybeans to China, and China is one of the biggest buyers of soybeans in the world. What? Well, MAGA farmers, who did you vote for? MAGA farmers, we tried to tell you this would not be a pretty picture. MAGA farmers, you not remember back in 2018, 2017, and Trump had another tariff war with China, and the same thing happened? Well, did you not expect it to happen again? There was about a $15 or $16 billion bailout. Socialism for the farmers. Oh, it's okay for you all to get payments when Trump messes up the economy on soybeans and causes China.
Good morning, guys. How are y'all doing? You know, guys, I've been watching a lot of videos about the farmers that are crying. They're about to lose their farm. They're not about to pass anything down to their children, and they want the world now to feel sorry for them. But this is how they voted. They voted to take away everything from African Americans, to the Latinos, the Hispanic, the Mexican, the Cuban. They voted to take away health care. They voted to take away SNAP. And they voted for a man with 34 felonies. And they was excited about it. They was happy about it. And now that it's their time, they want the whole world to feel sorry for them. I don't. Like, follow, and share, guys. Have a great day.
Watching them farmers cry about losing their business, I have two opposing feelings right now, because farmers, out of all the businesses that run in this country, farmers should be subsidized. Farmers should be bailed out, because without food, that's a national security risk. That's the biggest national security risk we can have, is not having a food supply chain for our nation. But at the same time, these people voted for him. They got exactly what they voted for. And it's frustrating because they don't have the capacity to empathize with other people. And they don't have the capacity to see how they've benefited from a system that they have now voted away. And it's frustrating because farmers, one, there aren't even that many family farms out there. So those things we should hold on to as much as possible, so that our farming industry isn't as controlled by these large corporations as they are. So we need those family farms, but these people keep voting themselves out of business. And you sit there and you go, you have a choice to make, right? You're like, do I side with these people who have done this to themselves? You know that meme where the dude's riding the bike and sticks the stick inside his wheel and then blames, liberals or whatever? That's what the farmers are doing. They voted based off of hate. And I've tried so hard to empathize with these people, but I've lost. This last election, I can't empathize with you anymore. You voted for this. You got exactly what you voted for. But at the same time, it's a national security risk. At the same time, these huge corporations are going to swoop in and buy these farms. And now we have even less and less competition in this country. And there's price gouging going on with our groceries, which, by the way, the other administration was actually going to go after the grocery stores for price gouging, but we're not going to talk about that here. Please, can somebody tell me that I'm not alone? This is one of the most frustrating things to feel, is where you want these people to be taken care of, and like you're empathetic and you understand why they need subsidies, and you understand on a national security level why we need farms and why we need a strong food supply chain. But then on the other side, you're just like, let it burn, because that's where I'm at.
And when it comes to the farmers in Arkansas, you gotta hold that, bro. You voted for that. And it's not like we cheering it on, but we cheering it on. We know Monsanto and BlackRock and all them, they're gonna come in and kill the world. We know this. But we gotta revel in your demise first, bro. You voted for this. And really, this could be karma for the past too, but we ain't gonna get into all that. But hey, wait, I just wanna know. I wanna know. What happened to all the Make America Great Again hats? What happened to it? I know when you had to throw that hat out, they was probably mad as, yo, bro. Imagine that feeling. Imagine, like, I got things tatted on me that if I had to remove them, I thank God I don't have to remove them, but if I had to remove, I would feel terrible. And somebody gonna be like, the hat ain't the same as a tattoo. Shit, the way they was rocking them, the way they was rocking them, might as well been a tattoo. And really, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them did get tattoos. Make America Great. I know one of them got a Donald Trump tattoo right now. Stop playing with me.
This is in response to the MAGA / Republican farmers who are all of a sudden screaming because the consequences of their actions are now being visited back on them. And I've seen like, oh, well, if the farms fail, it's going to hurt everyone. Oh, this is un-American. Like, we have to come together as Americans to Where were you during the discourse on the student loan forgiveness? You know, the predatory loans that have significantly financially hampered an entire fucking generation. Where were you? Where were you when families were being separated? People were being picked off the street at random by thugs in masks. Like where were you when marginalized communities were being targeted? Legislation was being introduced to, diminish these communities. Where were you? You were cheering him on. The only reason you're coming out and saying, oh, this is bad right now is because it personally affects you. And here's the thing. You've been screaming that empathy is woke, and here you are asking us to have empathy for you. It's really incredible to me when you are faced with consequences, how quickly you change your tune, how you try to spin the narrative. It's honestly par for the course. And the only reason that you're changing your mind now is because you're personally impacted, because you run the risk of losing everything that you have when so many other people, so many other communities have been suffering the exact same fucking fate, and you've been on the sidelines cheering. There will be no olive branch. There will be no reaching across the aisle, because just like raising a child, if the child does not understand that actions have consequences, the child does not learn. So sure, we could reach across the aisle and we could say, oh yes, we need to support bailouts for these farmers. We need to do all these things to make sure they don't fail. You wouldn't learn a lesson. You wouldn't learn a lesson. And if for some reason you happen to think that it was just an election, it was no big deal. First, I find that hard to believe in the year 2025 that anybody would think that, who didn't have their head underneath a fucking rock. Secondly, I think that's a cop-out answer. You knew full well what you were voting for. You were voting for everyone who wasn't like you to be targeted. for everyone who wasn't like you to be legislated against. You were voting for a white America that catered to white Christian men. That's what you were voting for. That's what you wanted. But now all of a sudden your livelihood is at stake. And you're running the other way, asking the people that you were vehemently against for help, for empathy, for compassion, and you're just not going to get it. So, I will close this message by saying I know there are farmers that are not voting for the policies and ideologies of this administration. And I fully do see you and sympathize and understand with you. But this is directly at all of you who went into the ballot box in November and gleefully voted red, gleefully voted against the interests of so many people, and now apparently including your own. There are so many phrases that encapsulate this. You know, you reap what you sow, you made your bed, now you have to lie in it. My favorite one is fuck around and find out. And that's where you're at. You're at the find out stage.
Across the country, Americans have turned cold. They are telling them that you voted for this. Others are saying that it's not our problem. The policies that you believed in are now, you are now facing them, and they are really breaking you. So while this is happening, many have the family farms have really collapsed, and we have to know that indeed choices have consequences. So the political choices that they made are really now hitting the wallets of those that say that we are untouchable. Yeah, we are untouchable. So let's continue listening in.
In the most predictable of predictable outcomes, we have this. Check this out and I'll be right back.
Now, I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
Saw is one of literally hundreds of farmers crying and whining about what's happened to their family businesses over the course of the last 8 months. The rest of what I'm going to say applies directly to the 75% of that community, farmers, ranchers, or agricultural people who voted for the 80-year-old diapered dementia patient. The 25% of you who actually learned the lesson from the first time around, feel free to scroll along. This reaction that all of you are having is what I call entitlement. It's entitlement because you feel that you're owed to be saved. And yet you were the same people that were pointing fingers at every marginalized community and telling them that you shouldn't be living off of the government tea. You shouldn't be living off of handouts. Never mind that these people were working just as hard, if not harder, for, far less than what you were given. You've lived off of generations of handouts, and you feel like because you were born on third base, you hit a triple. And now all of those supports are being taken away, and you feel like some grand injustice has been done to you. You're just getting a taste of what marginalized communities have been living under for centuries. Let that sink in. This is normal for the vast majority of people who look like me, the vast majority of people who are in the Black community. You've just been too ignorant and blind and stupid to actually pay attention and give a shit. So now that you're actually getting a taste of that medicine, you feel like you've been wronged and the universe is set up against you. And you expect the guy, and you're demanding the guy that did this to you to come save you. How stupid does that sound? That is the height of entitlement. That is the height of privilege. That is the height of ignorance. And it's all of those things that led you to this point. It's all of those things that drove you to vote for the guy in the first place. And if you're still stuck in that pattern where you think this guy's going to save you, you're even dumber than I thought you was. Now, when I said that this is the most predictable of predictable outcomes, I really mean it. This is proof again of how expensive racism is, because it's not like what you just saw or what you've been experiencing is new. In fact, you had a taste of this the first go around. In the first Trump term, the guy who has been bankrupt more times than anybody cares to remember nearly bankrupted the agricultural sector, and it resulted in one of the biggest bailouts in history. We warned you about this the second go around, but you and all of your other idiot friends thought it was a good idea to run that same playbook back. And now look at you. You're crying and bitching about losing everything when this was utterly predictable. In fact, we even pointed out that people in this administration had major stakes in apps and businesses that were set up to profit off of you losing everything. And the reality of it is that I'm having a hard time finding sympathy for any of you. I'm having a hard time feeling sad or feeling empathy to a group of people who were perfectly fine just a handful of months ago, screaming to anybody that would listen that you're getting exactly what you voted for. Well, guess what? Now you're getting exactly what you voted for. And the only way that you people will learn your lesson is if you lose every damn dime and you're out on the street. And then you can look down and pull yourselves up by those bootstraps that you keep telling everyone else to use. See, the lesson here is pretty simple. Those of you, the Mayo sapien crowd who happen to be in agriculture, in farming and ranching and all those related industries, you've spoken with the confidence, the unearned confidence, that is typical of the entire Mayo sapien crowd. You've had generations of handouts that you've lived off of. And now that those handouts are going away, you feel like you've been wronged. You know what that feeling is? That's the feeling of entitlement. Because every other demographic that has come to this country has built themselves without the aid of all those handouts. And all the while, your overlords have been pointing the finger at everybody else, saying that those people were the ones that are stealing from you. The lesson here is pretty simple. All of you needed to be humbled. And you're getting that humbling right now. And this might be the only opportunity where you legitimately learn your actual lesson. And that lesson is pretty simple. The 1% have stolen from you, and until you realize that they are your enemy and not anyone that looks like me, maybe you'll finally get it. Maybe you'll stop bitching and complaining about how someone who's working a minimum wage job shouldn't be allowed to buy soda using food stamps. That's not the problem. It's the billions of dollars that are being given to entitled, lazy people like you. That's the problem. It's the billions of dollars that's being given to the defense sector and all the consultants and the 1%. That's the problem. So until you realize that, I don't have any patience for you, and you will get zero sympathy from me. The only way that you might even be able to redeem yourself is if you strap on all of that made in China red hat bullshit and waddle yourself down to Washington, D.C. And let's see a sequel to J6, this time where it actually matters. Until you do something like that, you can fuck right off, and not just a little bit of the way. You can fuck all the way.
Some call it karma, others call it justice. But one thing is very clear. Americans aren't shedding any tear. They're telling them that they should face the fallout of their vote. So guys, what do you think? Should we sympathize with the MAGA farmers, or should they pay the price of their vote? I'd love to listen to what you think. Kindly comment down there below. Subscribe, like, share, and thank you so much for listening in to today's video.